Sounds really exciting. Just curious, what do you think is the difference between a creator and an influencer? Is it the same thing, or is it just that one sounds better than the other? Well, what, in your opinion, is an influencer?
I mean, again, these are semantics, and I think ultimately, I do think that one sounds better than the other. But what I like about the term creator is that it's focused on the emphasis is on creation, right? I'm doing this because I like making stuff.
Yeah.
And for me, it's a sort of medicine. It's a sort of way of like finding oxygen, you know?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I see this work. Like it's a way to cope with and navigate this crazy world that we live in.
Yeah.
Influencer feels like the emphasis is on influence, right? Like I'm going to try and shape your behavior. And in a sense, I get it. Like that's going to be a natural consequence when you're posting things and lots of people see it, or even a few people see
Yeah.
what you're posting, right? But I think I think it's tempting to want to have an influence on other people, but I shy away from it a lot too, because I found that the more you focus on trying to change somebody else's behavior, the unhappier it makes everybody involved.
Yeah.
It's much better to just focus on yourself and developing a better understanding of who you are as a human being. And I think that can lead to a greater level of empathy and kindness that can then actually have more of an impact on the world. So that's kind of my long-winded explanation for why I prefer creator over influencer.
Yeah, and that's exactly, all the things like showing your life, sharing your thoughts, your philosophy. That's also the main theme of your channel, right? You do a lot of life experiments, taking cold showers for, I don't know how long, 30 days, certain amount of time without social media. Well, how would you describe your main theme of your channel?
Well, I use the tagline, in search of mental clarity quite a bit.
Yeah.
Which is, again, it's a phrase that kind of doesn't mean anything. like mental clarity is such a vague term, and it most likely means entirely different things to everybody. But that's the point. Like, I think what I'm hoping to accomplish here is share a personal journey of mine that you can kind of maybe see yourself in, or kind of have takeaways from, as you kind of follow along.
Yeah.
And I think there's something very appealing with the idea of mental clarity, because it's about awareness, it's about presence, it's about kind of showing up to life, if you will. And it can feel so elusive sometimes with how fast the world's moving and the amount of distractions that exist, and all of the stimulation and all of the changes and all of it, So, that's what I'd like to focus on. These experiments that I do sometimes are, short-lived. Sometimes they last a lot longer. I tell a lot of people, I ended up doing cold showers for a full year.
For a full year.
Yeah. So
Whoa.
it went from just a month to a year, but I actually ended up stopping, not because I couldn't continue, but because the meaning of that experiment was lost. It became about something else.
Yeah.
I felt this is something I'm actually writing about, and I don't think it's a little bit difficult to articulate, but I think there's a deeper truth to it. The cold showers, for example, and this actually applies to other experiments of mine, it ended up becoming like a necessary part of my day in the sense that if I didn't do it, I felt bad. Like, wow, I did push myself today. I didn't accomplish this item on my to-do list. And so there was this kind of sense of guilt, I guess, if I didn't do it. And that was like, well, that's not the point of this at all. Like this, I totally changed the meaning of this entirely. And so this sort of search for mental clarity is actually quite intangible. It's quite difficult to pinpoint, because it's not about any one habit or activity or whatever. It's kind of a way of living life that I'm exploring and trying to share with the world.